Matt didn't just walk away. The show changed forever the moment he was gone. And today, we're digging into the transformation producers never wanted fans to notice. When Alaskan Bush People first premiered in 2014, Matt Brown emerged as one of the most recognizable faces in the Brown family. With his wild hair, inventive ideas, unpredictable humor, and unmistakable vulnerability, he brought a chaotic charm that instantly made him a fan favorite. But when he stepped away from the series and the family fell into a long, painful divide, the impact of his absence reached far beyond the screen. Today, years after his departure, the question remains, did Matt Brown simply walk away from the world he grew up in? Or did his exit trigger a transformation in Alaskan Bush People that forever altered the show's identity? What happened after Matt Brown left is a story of reinvention, loss, unanswered questions, and a reality show forced to rebuild its foundation without one of its most compelling characters. From the very beginning, Matt was more than just another Brown sibling. He was the oldest son, the experimenter, the mad scientist, the member who constantly pushed boundaries and embraced chaos. Viewers saw him build makeshift contraptions out of scraps, disappear into the woods to think, and bring an unpredictable energy that balanced the calmer personalities of his brothers. Removing Matt from the dynamic didn't simply mean losing one cast member, it meant losing a key emotional spark. When he left, the show didn't just lose a character, it lost a dimension. Suddenly, the humor, the arguments, the unusual problem-solving, and the raw, genuine vulnerability he brought were missing. And the series had to adapt fast. The untold emotional shift behind the scenes. Off-screen, tension had reportedly been growing long before his departure. Matt faced personal struggles, entered treatment for addiction, and later made allegations about certain family dynamics. While the rest of the Browns continued filming, Matt remained physically and emotionally distant. The emotional ripple effect was unmistakable. The family that once prided itself on unity now appeared fragmented. Fans noticed episodes carefully avoiding Matt's name, storylines quietly restructured to exclude him, and the Browns presenting a noticeably tighter and more controlled front. Whether intentional or not, the absence left viewers with a sense of something unspoken, a missing narrative thread they could feel but no longer see. While the family moved on with the series, Matt didn't disappear. Instead, he re-emerged independently through YouTube, Instagram, and occasional updates documenting his life and recovery. His online presence surprised many fans. Matt's content showed a gentler, calmer version of himself. He spoke directly to his supporters, offered heartfelt life updates, shared personal struggles, and built a community of people who appreciated his honesty. For the first time, Matt had control of his own narrative. And that independence created an unintended shift. It positioned him not just as a former reality star, but as a separate, standalone personality, one no longer overshadowed by a large ensemble cast. The death of family patriarch Billy Brown marked another turning point. Fans wondered if tragedy might lead the family to reconnect with Matt, but instead, the emotional distance seemed to grow larger. Matt mourned his father privately. Meanwhile, the show doubled down on a narrative that did not include him, even during such a monumental family loss. Billy's passing reshaped the series into a tribute to his vision, and Matt, for many viewers, felt like a missing piece of that tribute. Behind the television cameras, behind the drama and speculation, lies a deeper truth. Matt Brown's departure represents a genuine fracture in a once tightly bonded family. Families grow, change, and sometimes break apart. But when a family lives on television, those changes don't stay private. And audiences who spent years watching the Browns grow up in the wilderness feel that missing piece every time the family gathers without him. The show's future, moving on without returning to the past. Whether Alaskan Bush People continues for many more seasons or moves toward its final chapter, one reality is clear. The show built after Matt's departure is fundamentally different from the one he helped establish. The Browns have evolved, the storylines have matured, the tone has shifted, and the emotional center of the series has changed forever. The show no longer relies on wild energy, it relies on emotional resilience. And that means the era of Matt Brown isn't just over, it has become a defining turning point in the show's history. Matt Brown didn't just leave, he redefined the story. Matt Brown's departure did not mark the end of an era. Instead, it ignited a transformation that reshaped Alaskan Bush People from the inside out. His absence forced the family to rebuild narratives, shift emotional tones, and reassess the direction of the series. He was once the heart of the chaos, the source of raw authenticity, and a major emotional anchor. Now, his absence has become a permanent reminder of how deeply one person can influence an entire show, even when they are no longer there. Even though years have passed since Matt Brown stepped away from Alaskan Bush People, the ripples of his absence continued to shape the series. What viewers see on screen today, the tone, the narrative structure, even the emotional arc, is not simply the next step in a long-running show. It is the result of a fundamental re-engineering triggered by losing one of its most compelling characters. As the episodes moved forward, the shift wasn't dramatic or sudden. It was quiet, careful, almost surgical. But for longtime fans, the change was unmistakable. The show that once felt like a chaotic, unpredictable family adventure had transformed into a more polished, tightly controlled drama of survival, rebuilding, and legacy. And the transformation can be traced back to one catalyst: Matt Brown's absence. The burden of filling a gap that was never acknowledged. In television, especially reality TV, when a central figure leaves, producers often compensate by widening the roles of the remaining cast. But Alaskan Bush People faced a unique challenge. Matt wasn't just a cast member. He was one of the original cornerstones of the family narrative. He was the oldest son, the catalyst for conflict, the source of humor, and one of the most relatable members due to his emotional openness. As Alaskan Bush People continue moving forward, the impact of Matt Brown's exit is no longer just a moment in the show's past. It has become a defining influence on the series' present and future. As each new season reveals more clearly how his absence reshaped the tone, emotional direction, and identity of one of Discovery's most enduring reality franchises. What happened after Matt left wasn't simply a shift in cast dynamics. It was the beginning of a quiet, complex transformation that now defines the show's entire narrative foundation. And as more time passes, the story becomes not only about what the Browns are building, but what was lost when Matt stepped away. The emotional gravity Matt once provided is still missing from the series. One of the earliest signs of change after Matt's departure was the noticeable shift in emotional balance within the Brown family. Matt brought something the show has never been able to recreate. This vulnerability created a raw emotional baseline for the series, one that held the family story together even during chaotic or humorous moments. Once Matt left, the emotional center of the show shifted. Other siblings shared their feelings, but their emotional expression often felt more controlled, more measured, and more in line with the show's increasingly polished narrative style. That unfiltered honesty Matt brought simply never returned, and the absence of that raw emotional gravity changed the show's tone permanently. After Matt's exit, the Browns' individual storylines became the new backbone. Before Matt left, family episodes often centered around group dynamics, building projects, conflicts between siblings, survival challenges, or spontaneous adventures. After his exit, the show leaned heavily on individual story arcs to compensate for the missing interpersonal tension. The shift was subtle but significant. Bear Brown became a central figure whose high energy and constant projects filled the space once occupied by Matt's unpredictability. Gabe Brown stepped more fully into the role of emotional storyteller as his family expanded, exploring deeper personal themes. Noah Brown took on the mantle of eccentric inventor and methodical problem solver, roles that often overlapped with Matt's creative tendencies. Bam Brown re-emerged with a more prominent leadership role, offering stability and logic as the family went through massive transitions. Bird and Rain came-of-age storylines added emotional depth and youthfulness that echoed early seasons. This restructuring didn't just fill screen time, it redefined how the show approached its narrative. The large family unit that once moved as a chaotic, unified force became a network of separate emotional journeys. Some fans enjoyed the increased focus on individual growth. Others felt the show lost the wild unpredictability that early seasons were known for. But all agree, this transformation traces directly back to Matt's absence. The family's rebuilding era would have looked completely different with Matt. After leaving Alaska and transitioning into life in Washington, the Browns entered one of the most challenging phases in their history. Between medical emergencies, wildfires, and the profound loss of Billy Brown, the series shifted into a long-term rebuilding arc. Viewers have speculated for years about how Matt might have fit into this era had he remained on the show. His creativity, emotional intensity, and drive for innovation would have added a dynamic layer to critical storylines, building new shelters, adapting to major climate challenges, responding to emergencies, supporting the family during grief, contributing to large-scale ranch projects. Fans often point out that Matt thrived in situations requiring improvisation, emotional strength, or bursts of spontaneous creativity. His absence during the family's most difficult chapter became an emotional focal point, not for what was said, but for what wasn't. As the Browns rebuilt, the empty space beside them became impossible not to notice. The show's tone became more controlled and cautious. Another major shift following Matt's departure was the tightening of the show's structure. Early Alaskan Bush People seasons were chaotic in the best way, full of unpredictable moments, impulsive decisions, and raw interactions. This approach made the series feel more like a documentary and less like the unpredictable family adventure it once was. Many fans appreciate the maturity the show has developed. Others feel the sense of danger, spontaneity, and raw emotion once central to the show's appeal has faded. Again, this tonal shift is directly tied to losing a cast member whose presence consistently pushed the show into uncharted emotional territory. Matt's relationship with his audience became separate, but just as powerful. One of the most unexpected consequences of Matt leaving Alaskan Bush People was the organic rise of his personal online following. Through his own videos, Matt created a quiet, humanized, parallel narrative to the show's polished production. His continued desire to inspire and support his fans. Where the show became more structured, Matt's updates felt free, simple, and sincere. His followers often express that they feel closer to Matt now than they ever did through the series. It created a unique phenomenon. Matt's personal story continued, even without the show acknowledging it. His journey became an unofficial extension of the Alaskan Bush People universe, followed passionately by many viewers who felt emotionally connected to him. The split between Matt and the show created two separate fan communities. Fans who follow the Browns and the show's new direction. These viewers support the family's rebuilding story, Amy's resilience, and the siblings' personal growth. They appreciate the more mature tone the show adopted after Billy's passing. Fans who primarily follow Matt's separate journey. These viewers feel the show lost authenticity when it lost Matt. They gravitate to his vulnerability, honesty, and personal evolution. Many viewers fall into this group, hopeful for healing, wishing for reconciliation, and viewing the situation with compassion for everyone involved. This divide is unprecedented in reality TV. Rarely does a single departure create two thriving, emotionally invested communities. And yet, Matt's exit did exactly that. Once Matt was no longer part of the filming schedule, the creative team behind Alaskan Bush People had a difficult reality to face. The show needed new storylines to keep viewers invested. For years, Matt's unpredictable nature created a natural flow of episodic drama. Without him, the producers had to rely heavily on the remaining siblings to take over that emotional weight. Bam Bam, who had always been private and quiet, was nudged gently into taking a more prominent role. While fans respected his calm leadership style, his storyline lacked the kind of unexpected twists that defined Matt's presence. Noah, the more intellectual and engineering-focused sibling, was given increasing focus as the innovator of the family. The show began to highlight his inventions, experiments, and home-building projects. These segments offered a fresh direction, but longtime viewers noticed that this creative shift, while interesting, didn't hit the same emotional notes that Matt's heartfelt segments once did. Gabe and Bear, the more comedic and adventurous brothers, stepped into the spotlight to bring the lighthearted energy that Matt used to contribute. The combination of their lovable personalities and bold adventures became a new cornerstone for the show. But their comedic timing, though fun, didn't fill the unique emotional space Matt had held. Instead of one captivating focal point, the show shifted into a wider ensemble format. This shift created a noticeable divide within the fanbase. Some welcomed the calmer tone and collective family focus. Others felt the absence of the unpredictable soul who had once made every episode feel like anything could happen. The family's on-screen identity changed without him. When Matt was on the show, viewers saw the Brown family as a group bound together by a shared struggle against the elements, and occasionally against Matt's impulsive decisions. But that struggle also bonded them deeply. His challenges and the family's attempts to help him through them created storytelling arcs filled with emotional highs and lows. After his departure, the show's tone shifted dramatically. Instead of internal struggles and personal dynamics, the series increasingly emphasized external projects, building new homes, relocating, handling legal issues, navigating the aftermath of fires, and coping with the passing of patriarch Billy Brown. In Matt's absence, the show recentered itself around responsibility, rebuilding, and redefining family roles. The Brown siblings matured rapidly, and the once chaotic family dynamic evolved into a more orderly, adult-driven ecosystem. Some fans appreciated this evolution. Others felt something core to the show's identity had been lost, something that Matt once embodied. Billy Brown's passing made Matt's absence even more impactful. When the Brown family suffered the devastating loss of Billy Brown in 2021, viewers felt Matt's absence more deeply than ever. Many asked the same question: would Matt return for his father's funeral? The emotional weight of that moment, paired with the complex history between Matt and the rest of the family, bred intense speculation. Some believed the show could have used the moment to bring the family together in a healing narrative. Others argued that the estrangement was too deep, too personal, and too painful to address on camera. Regardless of where fans stood, one fact remained: Billy's passing changed the entire family structure, and without Matt present, the new dynamic felt profoundly different. For many viewers, Matt was the emotional bridge between Billy's authority and the children's individuality. Without him, the family storyline shifted permanently. Where once there was a son who challenged his father's plans, asked difficult questions, and followed his heart even when it led him astray, now there was a void, one that the show moved forward without addressing. Matt's new life outside the show reframed his legacy. While the Brown family continued filming, Matt reinvented himself online. Through YouTube updates, personal vlogs, and candid reflections, he built a new identity centered on sobriety, mental health, and living simply. Fans began to view the show from a different angle. They saw Matt healing and rebuilding while the series continued without him. For some, this humanized him in ways the show never had. For others, it raised questions about what really happened behind the scenes. Matt's openness contrasted sharply with the show's selective silence about his departure. That contrast reshaped the narrative for viewers. Suddenly, Matt wasn't simply the brother who left. He became a symbol of growth, resilience, and personal transformation. His content also influenced how people viewed Alaskan bush people itself. In his videos, Matt often shared peaceful moments, walking through orchards, exploring nature, reflecting on life. These glimpses reminded fans of the early spirit of the show, the raw frontier lifestyle that seasons 1 through 3 focused on. Ironically, Matt, no longer part of the series, was preserving the very essence that many felt the show had lost. The brothers had to fill roles Matt once held. Though the Brown brothers each had distinct personalities, they collectively carried the weight of Matt's absence. Bear, with his extreme enthusiasm and self-proclaimed king of extreme energy, became the go-to source of chaotic, comedic relief. But even Bear's energetic personality couldn't replicate Matt's unpredictable emotional arcs. Noah, always the problem-solving inventor, took on more responsibilities in the show's central projects, helping maintain the bush ingenuity theme. But his calm, calculated presence was the opposite of Matt's emotional spontaneity. Gabe, often the peacemaker and humorist, brought a sense of warmth that Matt once delivered through heart-to-heart moments. Yet Gabe's style was grounded and stable, whereas Matt's was intense and reflective. Fans often commented on this shift, noting that while the brothers did their best, none could replicate the unique mixture of vulnerability and volatility that made Matt unforgettable. The show's tone became more structured and more somber. Without Matt's unpredictable energy, the pacing of Alaskan bush people changed. Episodes focused more on logging and construction, land development, medical challenges, relocations, fire recovery, and family planning. The tone became more serious, more task-oriented, and more long-term. While still entertaining, the show leaned heavily on project-based storytelling rather than interpersonal drama. This shift made sense as the family matured, but longtime viewers missed the emotional immediacy that Matt once brought. His raw, unfiltered reactions created genuine TV moments. Some messy, some beautiful, all unforgettable. Without him, the show felt more controlled, more predictable, and more scripted in tone.